Hey, hi girls. I hope everyone is doing well. I'm sorry that I'm not in class. I ended up being booked for parent interviews, but I uploaded a question sheet for you to work on just as preparation, and then I'm going to keep this lesson pretty short, and then I'm going to ask you after to fill out, please, an exit ticket so that I could just assess what you understood and what you didn't, so that I can relay that to Mrs. Monk, and you can proceed accordingly. So in the last class, we finished talking about the second party that we learned about in Parak Aleph, and in the I guess the last lesson that I'm going to give you here, we're going to talk about the third party that's actually happening at the same time as the second. So the not the Navi, but the Megillah tells us in Pasuk Tes, we're talking about the party. Vashti basically makes a party at the same time that her husband is making the party for all the people of Shushan. So the one that's happening in his courtyard with the unlimited drinking, that is this party that we're talking about here. So Pasuk Tet tells us, Gam Vashti Hamalka Asta Mishtenashim. Vashti, the queen, also makes a feast or a party for women. Beit HaMalchut Shalom Melech Achashverosh, and she does it in the royal house or in the royal palace that belongs to Achashverosh. Pasuk Yud, Bayom Hashvi'i Ketov Lev HaMelech Bayayin, on the seventh day of the party. This is really the last day of the party. And when it says Ketov Lev HaMelech Bayayin, literally it means his heart was happy with wine, which basically means he was drunk. Amar le Mehuman, he says to Mehuman, Bista Charvona Bikta Vavakta Zeta Vacharkas, Shivara Sarisim. So seven of his advisors, his own advisors, or seven of his chamberlains, they were called. They were his personal servants. So he tells seven of his personal servants to do the following. To bring Vashti the queen, he tells his seven servants to bring Vashti in front of him, wearing her crown, so that he could show everyone, he could show all the people that were there how beautiful she was. And then Vatimain Hamalka Vashti Lavovit Var Hamelech Asher Biara Sarisim Vaiktov Hamelech Maod V'Chamato Barabo. Vashti refuses to come. It says, and she refuses. Queen Vashti refuses to come, and she refused to go with the servants of Achashverosh. And then Vaiktov Hamelech Maod, he gets very angry. V'Chamato Barabo, and his rage is burning within him. So we're going to spend this lesson really talking about just these psukim here, but we're going to refer to the other ones in a bit. So let's go back and start with Pasuk 10. So we hear that Vashti was also making a banquet. She's also making a party, right? And that it's taking place in the king's palace. So remember, this is going to really bring us back to the discussion we had last week about whether or not Achashverosh was this whole struggle whether he was an unlimited or a limited king. And he married Vashti because he thought that would actually help his cause, where he's marrying into royalty. But ultimately, he felt this insecurity that people only thought that he became king because he married into a royal family. So what he does here, is he's trying to really make his case for ruling as with absolute power, for really being an unlimited king. And he really wants to show everyone that he didn't marry Vashti just because of her title to the throne, just because she was the granddaughter of royalty, but because, and that he doesn't owe his position as king just because of her. However, he married her, right, because she was beautiful, and maybe even because he loved her. And it happens to be that she came from a royal family, but he wanted to show everyone, look how beautiful she is. Now, I want you to pay attention to something very interesting here. If you look at some of the psukim, and I put this question on the worksheet, Vashti is listed in two different ways in these psukim. She's either listed as Vashti Hamalka, which you see here in Pasuk Tet, you see it again here in Pasuk Yud Aleph, or she's listed as Hamalka Vashti. So Vashti Hamalka means Vashti the queen, and Hamalka Vashti means the queen Vashti. So what's the difference between them? The difference is that Vashti the queen means she's first and foremost Vashti, and by the way, she's also a queen. And Hamalka Vashti means she is the queen, and by the way, her name is Vashti. What's the difference? Vashti Hamalka is how Achashverosh would like people to see her, right? Vashti Hamalka she's Vashti, and she happens to be the queen, meaning he married her because she's Vashti and because she's beautiful, and that's what makes her the queen, right? She was beautiful, she married a king, and therefore she's the queen. Hamalka Vashti, on the other hand, right, is this insecure part of Achashverosh, right, which is that she is a queen. She's royalty. And by the way, her name is Vashti. So that's really, we're going to see this. And if you really read the psukim a little bit more carefully, you're going to see that play out really very, very perfectly, how that works here. So anyway, back to the story for a second. Okay, so he was really, again, hoping to show everyone that she is Vashti Hamalka, right? Vashti was also making this party. And where's the party happening? In Achashverosh's palace, right? So according to the Malbim, why does it say this? Nice, it's in Achashverosh's palace. Who cares? Because that was the whole point. That like it's almost like he allowed her to make this party for women, right? In his palace, not her palace, his palace. But what happens? The whole thing goes south. The whole thing goes sour. He's drunk and he tells his 7 servants to go and get her. Now, girls, think about this for a second, right? These were not Vashti's servants. These were Achashverosh's servants. They're his servants. They're not high class. They're not first class people. So imagine if you're the queen and your husband's servants are coming to get you, especially if she has this royalty in her blood. She's like, who the heck are you? I don't want to go with you, right? No way, not doing this. So when we look at this pasuk Yud, we have a lot of questions to ask. Okay, what the heck was Achashverosh thinking when he commanded that his wife be put on public display before all these people to show them her beauty, right? And especially there's a very famous Chazal. Chazal teach us that he asked that she appear naked. So especially if you throw that in here, whether it's true or not, right? If you throw that in here, like what really, Achashverosh, come on. Like, do you really think that she's going to be happy about either being clothed or not clothed? Doesn't even matter. To come in front of everybody, but from your servants coming to get her, like, come on, like, get real here. It's probably not going to happen. So that's one question that we have to understand. We also have to understand, okay, actually, let's start with that. And then really, why would he send his servants? Why not send her servants? Like, what the heck is he thinking here? Okay, now, one more question, sorry. But if you look here, he says in Pasuk Yud Aleph, Lahavi et Vashti Hamalka, bring Vashti the queen to me, and then Beketer Malchut. First, she's coming Lifnei Hamelech, and then we're going to put her crown on, right? Look at it carefully. It doesn't say Lahavi et Vashti Hamalka, Beketer Malchut Lifnei Hamelech, bring Vashti the queen in her crown before the king. It says, bring Vashti the queen before the king, and then it says, Becheter Malchut. And then it says, put the crown on. So what can we assume what was going to happen here? Perhaps Achashverosh wanted her specifically to come without her crown. He wants to show people how beautiful she is. And then he's going to put the crown on her. Because he wants to show everybody that the only reason that she gets this crown is because she married him. She's beautiful. That's why he married her. And Vashti, you're so lucky. You get to wear this crown because of the fact that you're coming to the king and because I'm giving it to you. So there's a lot to discuss here, and there's a lot to understand. So the Malbim basically explains that, again, this was all happening. He did this all for the same theme that we've been discussing all along, to show everyone that he is an unlimited king, and the only reason that she is queen is because she married him and not because he married into her family. Okay, so according to the Malbim, there's actually 5 different ways that he wanted to show that he did it, that he married her for her beauty and not because of the family that she comes from. So number 1, he commands his 7 servants to escort her. If she had royalty in her own right, meaning if she was the queen before she met him, then she would be escorted by the most important and royal officers and not by his lowly servants. That's the first way. Again, the first way he wants to show everyone that he only married her for her beauty and not for her family lineage is, number 1, he commands his servants to escort her. Had she really been royalty, then she would have been escorted by very fancy and important people. Okay, that's number 1. Number 2, he did not allow her to be, and this is sort of an extension, he did not allow her to be escorted by her own chamberlains, meaning he did not allow her to be escorted by her own people, right? She had to come with the ones specifically that ministered to Achashverosh. specifically that were the servants to Achashverosh. This is the way that a king treats someone who is like a servant to him or a concubine, right? Not someone who you treat as your equal. So he specifically sent people that belong to him and not who belong to her. That's the second way. The third way, okay, he says, Lehavi et Vashti hamalka lifnei hamelach b'cheter malchut. It says to bring her, when it says Lehavi, it means to bring, okay? She was, in other words, had to be forced. She was going to be brought even against her will. She had to come. There's no choice. Bring her whether she agrees to come or not to come. You need to force her to come. That was the third way. So again, just to review so far, okay, if she was really a queen in her own right, she would be escorted by the most, not even by hers, by the most important royal officers that were out there. Number two, if she were a queen in her own right, she would be escorted by her particular servants or fancy people. Number three, she was lehavi. He commanded them to bring her even against her will. Number four, okay, we're moving on here. Achashverosh directed his servants to bring her in a manner that would show everyone they were bringing Vashti the queen, Vashti Hamalka, and not Queen Vashti, Hamalka Vashti. How was he going to do this? He was going to do this by bringing her not wearing the crown until she got to before the king, meaning she was not allowed to come with the crown on her head. She was only allowed to put the crown on. This is what I said before. She was only allowed to put the crown on after she appeared before Achashverosh. And then finally, the fifth way was to show the people and the officials that he didn't marry her for her royal connections, rather for her beauty. Meaning this whole thing was happening in order to just put her beauty on display. She was going to be like a toy. He was going to bring her and put her on display for everybody to see. Look how beautiful she is, right? He wouldn't do this if he didn't really care about her looks. He wouldn't do this, right? It would actually be offensive to people to physically show her off. Like it's not respectful to anyone, for sure not to her. But he wants to show everyone that he only really cares about her appearance rather than the lineage that she comes from. These are the 5 ways, according to the Malbim, in these 2 psukim, in Yud and Yud Aleph, where he tries to show that he only married her for her beauty and not for her royal lineage. I'm just going to do the last pasuk quickly. Batima'en hamalka Vashti lavo bidvar hamelech. She puts her foot down and she says, "Nah, buddy. Okay, I am Queen Vashti, not Vashti the queen. I am a queen because I come from royalty, and not just because, my friend, I married you." So she refuses to come because she sees right through the entire thing. And then at the very end of Pasuk Yud Bet, it tells us, there's 2 different expressions for anger here. So as we know, the Malbim doesn't ever believe that the Malbim doesn't believe that there's repetition. There's no such thing as synonyms. So what's the difference between Ketzef in Vayitzof HaMelech Ma'od and Chamato Barabo, Ketzef and Chema? Those are 2 different types of anger. Says the Malbim, Ketzef is an external anger and Chema is internal. Meaning he was outwardly furious and he was internally furious. Like Tzov HaMelech Ma'od, he was outwardly, he throws like a hissy fit on the spot. He's angry. B'chamato barabo, his rage is filling within him because he realizes that his whole plan to show everyone that he only married her for her beauty and not for her royalty was just foiled. This is not just an outer embarrassment. This is an inner rage that he realizes he now has a lot of work to do to fix what just happened at this party. Okay. We'll stop here with this. By the way, the Malka Vashti and the Vashti Hamalka thing continues right through really the rest of this passage here, and really it plays out perfectly. My mother-in-law really will take over from there. But that basically is that. Before you leave today, please make sure you hand in to, I believe Mrs. Aronov is covering for you, this exit ticket here, which is, I just want to see what you understood and what you didn't understand from the last 4 lessons. This is not being marked. I'm going to give this to my mother-in-law so she knows where to start from and what was clear and what wasn't. So I'm just going to ask you to fill that out, please, before you go. Have a wonderful rest of the day. Girls.